Winterbottom about to take the title away from his great rival. There's some awesome vantage points around this venue. We want to be there. Yeah. Can we be there, please? The Fuso starting grid for our final race of the season. James Courtney, brilliant pole position for the Holden Racing team. Let's hope that's the foundation for a good year for them in 2016. Van Gisbergen wants to end the year on a high. Whincup alongside Winterbottom. Kelly, who you just heard from, and David Reynolds. Here's Scotty McLaughlin. The Wilson security team have had speed, they've had podiums. Can they get a win for 2015? Michael Caruso, lots of Sydney support for him, just as there is for James Courtney and for Frosty. Fabian Coulthard, last run for him with Brad Jones Racing. Craig Lowndes, can he help Red Bull to that team's championship? Tander, alongside his Walkinshaw stablemate Lee Holdsworth. Holdsworth will be in a 888 built car next year. Todd Kelly, alongside Dale Wood. And then we go back to grid positions 21 and 22. It's Chris Pither, who will be with Super Black Racing for 2016. Andre Heimgartner is still here, but it's Pither who'll be at the wheel of that car next year. Alex Davison. It's the brothers Davison at Erebus Motorsport, and Steve Owen has been drafted in by the Pepsi Max crew here for the seat ordinarily occupied by Chaz Mostert. Chaz is here supporting the team, but of course, young Cameron Waters, who's done it in recent races, has focused on clinching the Dunlop Series. He's done that here today. Well done, Cameron Waters. Both Pro Drive campaigns have yielded netted championships this year. We take a look at the points there a moment ago. Join the conversation. We want your thoughts. Who's going to win this team's championship this afternoon? Red Bull Racing Australia, or can Pro Drive bank that one as well? It was an awesome emotion-charged day here yesterday afternoon. Gloves are off in this one in many respects.
And it's not totally inconceivable that you could see a shift for second and third. So it's a slim chance that may change, but more often than not in this case, the weird things happen. So we'll keep a very close eye on that. We'll update you with those points possibilities on the run. Isn't that an awesome sight? Looking west to east, back across Western Sydney, into Western Sydney, through the harbour and back out to the coast. And all the focus in this precinct at the moment. James Courtney, the pole sitter, car number 22. Great comeback from injury at Sydney Motorsport Park. And sticks it on pole position today. Was genuinely excited to be there, which was refreshing, wasn't it?
There's the synopsis of the race, and someone there soaking it up, Greg Murphy.
Yeah, guys, it has been an incredible season. Obviously, this is the last one, as we know. It has been a tough season for James Courtney, but he grabbed another pole position. He'll be hoping to carry that through into 2016. Shane Van Gisbergen, he wants a win for Techno. He's moving on as well. And guess what? There we have it behind us, our outgoing champion and our new champion lined up side by side for this final race at this incredible race circuit. It's all on.
Fully expect that these guys will play hard. And remember, there's strategy to play in all this as well. They've got to drop 140 litres and they've got 74 laps.
This will be a grueling encounter. Front straight rolls down towards turn one. They get big speeds on the run to one. It's the final race of the year before the party starts to wrap up the season. Coates Hire Sydney 500 has delivered so much, and it's delivering a good start for James Courtney right now. He will lead Van Gisbergen and Winterbottom, who's ahead of Whincup on the run to one. Frantic activity behind him. McLaughlin trying to sneak by Whincup, but he's on the outside. Three wide, some of them through one. Tander, a bit of contact there, maybe with Craig Lowndes. Rick Kelly looking to make a move on David Reynolds, who's mid-track and making life hard for him. Courtney holds it. Van Gisbergen looks racy. Here's the Brad Jones pairing. Coulthard and Jason Bright.
James had a little bobble under brakes going into turn one, but he rescued it. There were a couple of nail-biting moments back there when they were side by side in places where it often doesn't work. But so far, so good. Courtney in control from Van Gisbergen. Tiny gap then back to Winterbottom. A little bit bigger air back to Jamie Whincup. It's a difficult start here because of the downhill nature. They've got to use the brake line lock or a handbrake. Van Gisbergen on cold tyres, seeking to make advantage.
Mighty in these sorts of conditions on the Gold Coast, wasn't he, Van Gisbergen? We know from Friday practice where he topped every session. He's dialed in. Has a look, can't do it there.
That was awkward. So James didn't quite get it tucked down to the apex. He's a little bit vulnerable at the moment, and Shane knows it. He has another dive, and they tag. Final corner, turn 13, and it's on. Lap 1, 73 to go. It's a measure of the intensity out there, and that's invited Winterbottom to the party.
McLaughlin looks fast as he chases Whincup as well. Riding with Winterbottom. If you've just joined our coverage today, special bonnet for the new champion, courtesy of Castrol and the Pepsi Max crew. Bright is in.
All clear. All clear. Go, go, go.
Also hearing Tim Blanchard in the lane as well for Team Cool Drive. Back up in front. Courtney and Van Gisbergen. So narrow through this section, round the back toward ANZ Stadium. Look at Reynolds fighting here with Rick Kelly. Tim Slade trying to hold them off.
So just going back to Jason Bright there, qualified 11th, but that's a strategic play. Pluck him out of the traffic, dispense with one of the fuel requirements. The first part of that 140-litre fuel drop on and done, and they'll be banking on safety car intervention, which did come in one of the 2 races yesterday, but also clear air, potentially giving them some gain and a clean, easy in and out of the pit. So around about 40 litres of fuel and a similar fuel load in for Tim Blanchard. Oh, trouble here, and it involves Steve Owen and Alex Davison at turn 9. That's Alex parked up, backed her into the wall.
And you can see the frustration for Tim Edwards. Damn! And maybe even worse words than that, because that could affect the team's championship. They need Steve Owen's help, the Pepsi Max crew. Some contact with Alex Davison, not sure what unfolded there. David Reynolds trying to fend off a fast Rick Kelly as well. Kelly is 7th, Reynolds in 6th. Courtney was good in the final sector, Van Gisbergen mighty in the middle sector, and Fabian Coulthard.
Plan A, plan A.
Kelly. Carsales.com entry in and out, strategic as well, so no issue there. What will have happened down at turn 9 is there'll be a classic manoeuvre down the inside, undulating road down there, not very much grip, mistakes are easily made. Courtney, Van Gisbergen, Winterbottom. Here's the order. Now yesterday, quite see it in that shot, Van Gisbergen, I noticed, was sacrificing the notion of flying the car over the curbing. He talked earlier in the weekend about it flying over the bumps, perhaps a little higher than he'd liked. And he was actually driving the car well on the race line round there and staying off the curbing. Here's the replay at the start. Nice leap away there for Courtney.
Looked like a tough one for Whincup. Didn't quite grip up. Let's look at this. Watch car 1.
James just rock and rolled out of there.
He's a master Garth-Tander of picking up places at the start, and he gets another good one. He started in grid position 15. Right now, Tander is 11th. What about this to 1?
So that's Lowndes on the right, then Coulthard. Jason Bright's in amongst it as well. It gives you a bird's eye view of the sort of stuff that happens at turn 1. David Wall was the other car. And here's a bit of aggravation on replay at turn 9 as well between Scott Pye and Dale Wood. And here's what happened between Steve Owen and Alex Davis. That's the aftermath. And pretty much tells the story what Tim Edwards thought of all that.
Now as Tander makes ground, he's up into 11th. We go back to his teammate James Courtney, leading from Van Gisbergen. Remember, Van Gisbergen is 4th in the championship, but he's only 50 points ahead of Garth-Tander for that spot. So that's another little one that's in play, as Neil said before. Winterbottom looks good in terms of the sector speed, but these two have been able to put some space between themselves. And that Falcon, Van Gisbergen, has a look again. Oh, deep under brakes! Deep under brakes! He makes contact with Courtney! Courtney's into the wall, but it's a light brush. Winterbottom's come through. The tension was building. Was it an ambitious move?
Won't be a light brush in James Courtney's mind.
Oh.
And, there's tyre smoke here, there's bodywork. Adrian Burgess. It's actually quite wounded in the right rear corner there.
Okay, mate. Don't worry about that. Just keep pressing on. You've got a bit of smoke trailing at the back, so you know if the car's all right.
Remarkable that he can still be in the lead group as a result of contact. So Van Gisbergen now the leader, 0.3 of a second over Winterbottom. Courtney Ayling. He's under assault at the moment from Jamie Whincup, and then you can see in the background it's Scotty McLaughlin in the Volvo also threatening here. And Dave Reynolds has got a nice easy run there at the moment. So let's have a look at the replay. The run into turn 9, down the roller coaster on the inside, and got a fair way in, but as it does happen at those corners, as you get closer to the apex, the gap diminishes. So very awkward racing incident, that one. Here's another view. Early on, Shane Van Gisbergen looked like he had it done, but as they got to the corner, Ryan Walkinshaw unhappy. So James is soldiering on here, and now this time Whincup tries to have a crack at the very same spot. James steps wide, lets him go.
Adrian Burgess, don't know if you've got a report here from James. I mean, we can see how wounded the car is on the outside there, but geometry-wise, any feeling at the moment? Or I mean, it looked pretty awkward what happened down there at that turn 9.
Oh, look, he's saying the car's not pretty. He was fine up until that point. Bit of an ambitious lunge, but look, yeah, early days. We're going to struggle from here, I think. It's not looking good.
Early days were his words there, and I think that's the point Ryan Walkinshaw was trying to make as McLaughlin makes the move now on the 22. The ailing, the wounded Holden Racing Team Commodore. Kiwi trying to come through, and Reynolds, look at Reynolds. It's like a wedge trying to force his way through too.
He's in the window. I'd be inclined to get him out, get his fuel in, get some rubber done. He's returning serve here, so by plucking him out of this, you'll also lower the emotion on it. And you can see that some people are taking a strategic stop. There's flexibility in this regard with the way the strategy works here. And as Adrian says, it's going to be hard work from this point onwards. So that'll be the huddle that they're in and discussing at the moment. So Anthony McDonald on the left-hand side, Adrian Burgess, Rob Starr, collectively a lot of motor racing intelligence in that garage as they try and come up with the right solution.
I think the hand gesture said it all. Let's get him out of it, I think he said. So here's Reynolds now, same place. Not close enough.
You can see that fair amount of damage to the underbody and apron of the car there. And, yeah, so they're going to do what was suggested, and that just lowers the temperature on this. Gets a bit of the fuel away. They can have a look at the bodywork and just clear any issues that they've got there. And he could be surprisingly effective later in the race.
Stop on the mark, we're going to re-fire the fuel. We're going to have a look at the bodywork at the back.
We'll take a look and see if we can see any indication of anything other than bodywork on there. It's pushed well underneath that car. It's very loose as well. The rear bumper, the tail light. There's going to be have to remove some of that stuff. It's very, very loose. Frank Adamson's in there just pointing to that tail light. He's going to be rubbing, that rear guard is definitely going to be rubbing on that tyre as it goes out. And there's, we can see that bumper is not attached very well at all to the back of that car.
Yeah, they got caught between the devil and the deep blue sea there, because at one point it was, you know, we'll have a look at it and then yank it back out. As that yanked the right rear corner off it, it actually made it worse. Needed to just get the tape on it quickly. Not sure it's going to survive. And then there was sort of a half-hearted attempt to yank it right off, and that's going to be a much bigger job because they're actually fixed quite effectively onto the car. So how frustrating. Fortunes change quickly in this caper, and so they've done their fuel because...
Can you get it off in time? What can we cut it off with? That's a tender.
What do you think?
Just swing it back in. Try and cut that bit off, I think.
I don't know where you're going to detach it from.
So at least they've had a look at it now, and they'll go through a bit of a post-mortem there to work out what the best remedy is. They'll be mindful of the fact that they don't need a mechanical black flag. That's what they will try to avoid. Tim Slade.
Off the light was, off the light. Fuel light as well. Waiting for fuel. It's going to be clear, mate.
See the green lights on the boom saying the wheels and tyres are done.
Clear. Get out there.
Check with race control for you too. We're hearing no action at this point in relation to the contact between Van Gisbergen and Courtney.
Steve Hallam, We just want to get your take on the incident between Shane Van Gisbergen and James Courtney. I think you might have seen a couple of replays now. Just your take on that?
Yeah, I think Shane was going for the corner, and there was space in there in the at the apex, and James closed the door to a degree. And you know, we're told to give racing room. That's it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
So it is not being investigated. That's what we're being told.
And I think when you look at it, Steve's assessment there's pretty right. So there was an invitation. Shane got a long way down. The gap diminished. It's one of those things that happens in motor racing pretty much every weekend somewhere in Australia on multiple.
Van Gisbergen leads the way from Winterbottom and Whincup. Lachlan fourth at the moment. Some good sectors from the Volvo driver in terms of where Courtney's rejoined the game. He's 21st. He's behind Tim Slade in 20th place. Jason Bright 19th. He's another guy who got out of the mix very early on, you'll remember. And one of only a handful of drivers to have pitted so far in this race. Van Gisbergen with a 1.09 second advantage over Frosty.
He's proving to be a tough competitor this year, Shane Van Gisbergen. So he was in the middle of the lightning and thunder at Phillip Island, and again here this weekend. He's making sure that he signals to everybody that he's racing that it'll be 10 tenths. You can expect it. So he's staking a claim, and unfortunately today it's come at the cost for James Courtney there. So he's well committed also. The other thing about having a lunge down the inside there's no way that you can get out of it. When you've attacked the brake pedal that late and you run the car into diagonal down at the apex, it's not as though you can go, oh, well, I'll just brake a little bit harder and I'll fix this problem. So you're already at the braking limit of the car. So to push another PSI harder probably results in locking the brake, which only makes an incident worse. There's not much else is going to happen as a result.
I reckon that people dynamic will be a very big story next year under that umbrella at Triple Eight. You've got Craig Lowndes, who'll be in Caltex colours next year. We know what a happy-go-lucky kind of guy he is. You've got the very dedicated, committed athlete in Jamie Whincup, and you've got Shane,
who's... Work with
who's
those bars, make sure you're happy with the bars.
unbelievably fast, great freestyler, but he's been operating in a small kind of team ethos until now. He's about to step into the big operation. That'll be fascinating next year.
Dynamic between the three of those guys will be curious to watch. We had a little preview yesterday when we saw Whincup having a big battle with Van Gisbergen. So that's a wheel nut out in the pit lane there for car 9, which possibly will draw the attention of race control.
Go, mate, go.
Generate a penalty. You're supposed to keep all the gear under control, including bits.
It's beyond the yellow line too, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
it depends on whether it was spotted down there. We've seen it. Whether or not it's been seen in pit lane's another issue.
it's been picked up, we understand. Beautiful livery
It's
on
the
that
fact that it got out there to start with that's actually in transgression of the rule. The question whether you pick it up.
Awesome paint scheme on this car this weekend as Penrite celebrates 90 years, and he rejoins right behind his brother Alex Davison, who's been helping them a little bit this weekend on that Wendy's car, the sister Erebus AMG E63. So Van Gisbergen with a 2-second advantage over Whincup. Then Winterbottom, McLaughlin, Reynolds, Rick Kelly, Michael Caruso, some good Nissan presence in that top 10. And Garth Tander, what a mighty job by Tander. From position 15, at the moment he sits in 8th.
A competitor may be penalised if any of its parts or equipment cross into another competitor's pit bay. So that's the rule that affects those bits and pieces. So we'll see what happens there. Winterbottom and Whincup are still in a good old battle here as well at the moment.
You could hold your own in a court of law, I reckon.
Yeah, got them tagged.
So some great stories up and down the field at the moment. A couple of guys, if you've just joined the action this afternoon in the final race of the championship, have taken their first pit stop. This is James Courtney. It's a wounded car 22, the pole sitter for the Holden Racing team, involved in some contact with Shane Van Gisbergen as the Super Cheap Auto Commodore goes off of Tim Slade. You watched it. Look at the damage to 47.
So we've got a fuel or an oil fire here as well, so that's big contact.
Safety car boards and
This will be an obvious Lexus RCF safety car intervention.
The throttle jammed.
So the throttle jam there was the word from Tim Slade.
Okay. You okay there? There's going to be a flurry of cars in the pit lane. I don't want you to jump to the passenger side. You're up to the whole station, mate.
So here's the replay. Oh, didn't even look like stopping. A pretty heavy impact with a couple of tons of concrete there. And it's going to get incredibly congested in pit lane here because the window's well and truly open, and there's nothing you can do if the throttle jammed, as Tim's suggesting. You're gone. There's nothing you can do. You're not going to be able to stop the car. And I think it actually shifted the wall there.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go. Busy time in pit lane right now.
This could work out okay for Bright and Courtney. Blanchard, Todd Kelly, Will Davison in car number 9.
Look at Lowndes. Look at how slow Lowndes is going, knowing there's servicing car 1 at the moment. Waiting, easing down the lane. He'll have to wait here.
Yeah, he was at 40 Ks. There was an air gap back to Shane van Gisbergen.
Clear.
Oh, there's been an incident here at Nissan. The pit gantry has come down. Has that been pulled down by a car? What's happened there? Everyone looks okay. Let's hope that's the case.
I was looking at the cars leaving the pit lane, not the rest of it. And here is Tim Slade still in the car and now trying to vacate out the left side. That's an unfortunate way to end that relationship.
Came off the curb as he came through the right hand. A little bit of air, a little bit of two-wheeling, but then it sounds as though as the crowd applaud him, he's okay. He's saying, I'm okay. The throttle jam. So what happened here? Oh, Moffat comes in and it gets snagged. One of those air hoses gets snagged. It's a bungled stop at Nissan.
Was it the rear wing end plate that grabbed it?
I think so. It's been a long and busy year in this sport. It's been tough on the crews, and it's a grueling one this afternoon with 63 still to come. So Van Gisbergen, let's take a look at this damage. Was the race leader, obviously, with safety car intervention. Look at the damage to the Super Cheap Auto Commodore, and it did seem to shift that concrete barrier up in those final few corners, final sector of the circuit. Tim is out of the car and okay. He's had a pole position at this venue in the past back in 2012 and was looking to end the partnership with Walkinshaw and with Super Cheap on a good note. Shame for those guys.
This is what happened to Winterbottom. So when all this stuff was going on, I kind of looked up at the timing and went, what happened with Whincup and Winterbottom? And this now puts an explanation around what went on at turns 2, 3 and 4. Well, we promised there'd be plenty going on this afternoon. So far, it's delivering. There's Whincup mangling what was left of that mirror, and there goes that wheel nut out into the pit lane. It's actually broken the fingers off it, and so they normally are retained. They're captive in the wheel, and Jan Strong is the culprit behind the problem for Tim Slade, which is an awful thing for a driver. And if there's a positive out of that, it's a relatively low-speed shunt, but that's incredible damage. Everything forward of the firewall's a drama. Watch this from James' car.
One of our cameramen, Angus, is at that point of the track. He's okay, but it was a pretty wild shot you were able to get, and Tim's all right. That's the most important thing too.
Ryan Walkinshaw, great to see Tim Slade's all right. He's climbed out of there all right. That was a fairly slow speed, but still a terrifying impact there with the concrete.
Yeah, look, the main thing is that Slade is all right. We're trying to understand exactly what happened there, but yeah, it doesn't look good for the car at the moment. Big hit. You don't want to see that kind of stuff happening.
No, you don't. And the other thing on that side of things, we saw Shane van Gisbergen get into the side of your pole sitter, James Courtney, before him. It was a good little birthday present for you there at the moment, but it's certainly not that case at the moment anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a couple of times in a row for Shane, but apparently it's not a breach of rules. So, look, you know, JC did cut across a little bit, but, you know, I felt there was a bit of room there for both cars, but apparently not. And unfortunately, that sort of thing happens. It's racing. We just got to make sure we get our head down and try and get the best results we can for the 3 cars we've got left.
And if you're looking for something good out of it, at least there's some speed coming in these HRT cars. A great lap by JC really in the shootout to put it on pole position for his third one this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The boys have been working really, really well. You know, the last 2 rounds haven't gone the way we wanted them to, so, you know, we really went into this round hoping to get some good results, and, you know, we were looking good for that, and, you know, we want to give something back to the fans for, you know, looking after us all season and supporting us, and, you know, we've still got a long race to go. GT's still in a good position, and so is JC on strategy now, so we'll just see how it pans out, and hopefully we can try and get a podium or push a couple of people up even further. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Change of structure to that organisation next year. They've been running 4 cars, obviously. The Charlie Schwerkolt entry for Lee Holdsworth, that super cheap auto racer, plus the 2 Holden Racing Team cars. They will consolidate and focus on just getting the famous Red Squad back to where they were next year.
Great shot of the precinct out here, and as I suggested before, those that came in and took the strategic opportunity early in the game when the track was clear get a little benefit from what's just happened. So Jason Bright floated into the top 4 cars here in 4th position behind Rick Kelly, just in front of Scott McLaughlin. And James Courtney, despite the fact that he had to tour the pit lane to repair that damage, is 6th.
So we'll take a look at some of the things that have unfolded in the recent time. This is Mark Winterbottom, and the reason why we've seen a little bit of a shuffle. Frosty is currently 7th in the order. Oh, this tells the story, doesn't it?
Did the right thing though, so no panic, released the brake, therefore no issue with a flat spotted tyre. Went through the runoff, didn't attempt to try and drive over the curb and rip the middle out of the car. Meantime, Jamie Whincup plucks the mirror off car number 1, or what's left of it was already a carcass, and that's a right rear wheel and wheel nut parting company there with the Erebus V8, and the little fingers, the captive wheel nut, that car's jumped into the pit lane, and then a sticky throw of Tim Slade whacks him into the concrete wall down there, which is the reason for the Lexus RCF safety car intervention. Shifted the concrete block, and dreadful circumstances to finish off that relationship. Here's the onboard replay from James Courtney's car. Big impact, fortunately at low speed. Car looks horrid, but Tim's out of the car and all okay.
And this down at Nissan, trying to ensure that those hoses don't get snagged. Was it on the...
No, it was a mirror, I think. Might have been the passenger side mirror. I thought it was the rear wing that actually grabbed it. We've seen 1 or 2 incidents in motorsport over the years when that happens, but I think it was the passenger side mirror that's grabbed it and yanked those nitrogen bottles and the gantry straight down.
Scott Sinclair, it's always difficult when we're under those safety car conditions, and pretty much every car comes into pit lane. Clearly your boys did everything they could to avoid a situation like that.
Yeah, I just saw it then actually. Just dropped the hose at the wrong spot and caught on the back of James's rear wing, which pulled the boom down. Obviously we'll get it back together, and unfortunately no one was hurt. But yeah, just one of those things that happens under safety car when everyone's got to dive in, I suppose.
Is the boom going to be okay for the rest of the race?
Yeah, we've lost a bit of the wiring, it's been torn out, so have to revert to old methods there, but that'll be fine. We'll be all right.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Triana.
So while Scott was just explaining what it is and confirming that it was the rear wing, that was Steve Owen getting a little bit of attention to the front left corner of that car there as well. So clobbering tyres around here shoves those bumper assemblies back and moves them on their mountings, and then end up with a tyre rub. And someone's going to get a mechanical black flag for a rear bumper issue. I think it's car 9, which is Will Davison.
We did see some damage for that car while it was in for the stop. A little bit of a flame, I think it was, from that.
Okay, buddy, get ready.
Right front brake. 800 plus degree brake temperatures around this place. It's tough.
Bradley Jones felt bouncing a little bit as well, because Jason Bright got tangled up in traffic when he was trying to get the advantage of that clear air, so he was getting bottled up by 1 or 2 competitors that were slower. So he's making my little phone melt at the moment. But Bright's currently 4th, out of step sequentially with the other key runners around him. Van Gisbergen's the leader. This is much more like the Sydney Olympic Park event that we've seen of yesteryear, where there's a lot of action while passing manoeuvres. When mistakes are made, the walls bite.
Lexus RCF safety car peels in. Van Gisbergen controls the field. Racing with the guy who'll be his teammate next year, Jamie Whincup. We are underway again at the Coates Hire Sydney 500. Last race of the season before the end of year party kicks off. Good run. Rick Kelly in third. Jason Bright in fourth. Courtney, as Ryan Walkinshaw suggested when we caught up with him in the pit lane, may have been able to get a little something back by, okay, there was that incident with Van Gisbergen, but getting him out of that, taking service. He's in the queue in 6th spot at the moment. Hopefully the car's okay. Everyone's stopped at least once. There's a couple that have stopped twice, including Tim Blanchard, Steve Owen and Will Davison, who had an issue with that rear bodywork that Neil spoke about before, that bumper.
That was a bit of an awkward hop off the curb there for Jamie Whincup as well on that close-up that we saw, and you see how that made him vulnerable to Rick. So Kelly's right in this game, and it's a bit of a gap back to Jason Bright. There he is, and he's got his hands full at the moment with Scott McLaughlin and James Courtney. Things change quickly in this caper. So Courtney would have been pretty crestfallen earlier with what went on, and it's not very far from the sharp end here once again, but just a reminder that several of them are out of sequence in where they've taken their fuel, and so that will change depending on whether there's further safety car interventions. That will alter the opportunity for when they take on their next fuel drop. They've got to get 140 litres in the car. The total requirement for the race, as Greg explained at the top of the show, is just over 230 odd kilometres, litres, not kilometres, 230 odd litres, and that varies from car to car, lap to lap. That's a bit of an average that we work on there, using just on 3 litres a lap, and based on the specific gravity of the fuel, it's a little over 2 kilos. So here's that rear bumper problem for Will that I spoke about before. He said on the radio that he thought it was as a result of contact with some Nissans early on, and a bit of confusion here. Some unhappy campers in there, and finish off the season with a nice kick through the goal.
How many points was that worth?
6.
He's back out there at the moment, Will Davison, but unfortunately in his final appearance with Erebus, he runs in P24 out of 25 cars. Race being led by Van Gisbergen by 0.6 of a second. We go back to Craig Lowndes here. Remember the title for the team's championship up for grabs. Whincup is second. Craig Lowndes is 16th.
Hey, Mark Tutton, quickly, the boys thought they heard Craig Lowndes sort of asking about maybe an overheating issue with his car. Is everything all right there? I'm looking at the data myself. It doesn't look too bad.
No, it's cooling down now. It's just around this place with all the walls. As soon as you're in a little bit of traffic, everyone overheats behind the safety car. Safety car was only doing 60, so we were sort of just asking the safety car, can you wear safety? Accelerate to 80. Every other team was saying the same thing as well, so no issue.
Hey, it's been a tough weekend for Craig Lowndes. It's really not worked out. It didn't work out then in that strategy as well, having to double stack.
No, exactly, but we seem to have got in more fuel than a lot of our competitors, so we should be able to readdress that a little bit, but obviously still lose a bit of time with that. So, yeah, tough break.
See you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Spare a thought for the competitors and the cars. 33-degree ambient temperature at the moment, above 55 inside the cockpit. We were roasting down on the grid before we even got started. It's been a warm day here, and these athletes are working for their money.
Lowndes got 67 litres of fuel in his stop. Whincup 66. So very similar. Winterbottom got 69 litres. Scotty McLaughlin, much shallower approach there to turn 8. It's interesting there when you look at the onboard that Jason Bright avoids the curb as well. So depending on the way in which the dampers and the springs and, oh my goodness, this Popeye socks, guess who?
And I reckon the reason that he looks racy, Scott McLaughlin, he senses drama for Bright. He kissed the wall there before, Jason Bright. And I think McLaughlin knows that he's in trouble, or not as good a shape as the Volvo at present.
Don't want those socks to fall to half-mast if this all goes wrong. So Gary will also be just holding his breath a little bit here, because the problem is, as you saw in the battle between Van Gisbergen and Courtney at the beginning of the race, when you throw the car down the inside here, you've got to be really sure of the fact that you can get away with it.
Focus on your exit out of 8, buddy.
Richard Holway talking about making sure you work on the exit out of 8. He wants you to be able to outbrake on the inside on the roller coaster into 9. He's actually coming off a lot of the corners well here relative to Jason. So Bright's having a little bit of battle just getting the car away from the slow speed corners where traction is a premium.
Been getting up above 240 k's an hour at that Shannon speed trap. Scott McLaughlin in the Volvo.
damage this weekend so far for the Team BOC entry of Jason Bright, so Nellie Jones had to bring some stuff up from the factory at Albury yesterday. We managed to sneak a photo up in the coverage to show her turning up at the airport with V8 supercar bits.
How's Van Gisbergen's pace here? Here's McLaughlin, gets it done. Dives down the inside of Jason Bright and he moves through. That's for position 4 in this race.
That's a very cool move. Not often we've seen clean passes at turn 8. Jason was aiding and abetting, and now James Courtney down the inside and didn't leave him much room, but just enough so that there wasn't contact. But rubs the wall on exit, as does Jason Bright. So here comes David Reynolds into the party as well. Look at them all crisscrossing. David Wall's in here too.
Frosty.
And now contact as Frosty gets into the back of his old teammate Jason Bright. Wall up the inside of Reynolds. They can't get through their 2x2 in the final corner.
We've got about 20-25 laps on these.
It's Van Gisbergen, Whincup, Rick Kelly, McLaughlin, Courtney, Bright, Winterbottom, Wall, Reynolds, Kelly, Lee Holdsworth. And there's Lee just having a look at the back of Todd Kelly into 1. Then Michael Caruso to have a go at this with Pye down the inside. They are 3 wide. And Garth Pander's in the middle. And these guys are hard racers. It's on. This is going to get ugly as they start to bump and grind all the way to 2. And Garth Tander pops out the other side. Coulthard and Pye go on with it. It's wacky races through turn 4. And Tander pops out the other side. Pye prevails just. How they managed to not turn them into a bundle of bolts there is a bit of a miracle.
Coulthard and Pye will be teammates next season, and Tander just drove a wedge straight between them and did not roll off the throttle. That was awesome. What a way to end the year. Terrific stuff. Garth Tander in that 15th spot on the grid. 13th now that the first stops have shaken out, but he's continuing to keep the pressure on. Van Gisbergen bolting together some very good laps, and he leads by 1.5 seconds over Jamie Whincup and Rick Kelly in what is the final race of the season. David Wall, shout out to David Wall, his last appearance for Gary Rogers Motorsport. A lot of talk about what he'll do in endurance terms next year. He's driven all kinds of cars from the family garage, I guess you could say, this year. His late father has some very impressive cars. And David, at the moment, home event, Sydney guy, he's in 8th place. Both Volvos in the top 10.
It's great to see. He's had a pretty tough campaign. And this is the kind of stuff that he and the group around him needed to be able to deliver much earlier in the game. Unfortunately, it's at the back end of the season, but he's well in there at the moment. It's David Reynolds that we're riding with tucked in behind him. So rubbing our hands together at the prospect of everybody boxing on to the checkered flag here at the moment. Still Van Gisbergen by 1.5 seconds from Whincup, then Rick Kelly, then Scotty McLaughlin jumping further back in the order. Look at these guys. There's plenty of capability in this lineup here as well.
Gary Rogers, it's early days yet, but it was wonderful to have David Wall in his first top 10 shootout in his final race with you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously he'll be for the endurance races, but, I mean, this is a serious race, isn't it? People pay their money. This is what they want to see. We don't do all that pussyfooting around. Let's get in a bit of charging. OK, we don't want any accidents or anything unsafe, but this is great television. It's great for the punters. We need more of it.
I absolutely agree with you. To have both of your Volvo cars at the moment running in the 10.
Sorry?
To have both of your Volvo cars running in the 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do, but we've got to keep it going. Not much good for half the race. We need it for the whole bloody race.
Fingers crossed it stays that way right to the end.
We just do our best, mate. That's all we can do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gary.
He's a great character of our game. Wonderful to celebrate his 70th birthday this year at Queensland Raceway, and everyone in the paddock coming out to enjoy that moment.
And clearly he got a pair of socks for his present. How's that? This is the replay of a couple of laps ago when Courtney came out of that right-hander, touched the wall. Jason Bright went in sympathy, and then that triggered a flurry of potential manoeuvres, including a little outbreak from Mark Winterbottom. David Wall's getting into the back meantime, and David Reynolds' car. And this was a really cool move at turn 8. Down the inside, nicely done, McLaughlin, and Jason Bright just sidestepped and made it easy for him. And then James Courtney down the inside at turn 9. Trying to do to Jason Bright what Shane Van Gisbergen did to him. And this had our eyes bulging. It had all three of these drivers well and truly grabbed their attention. And out of the middle of this emerged Garth Tander, doing his walking on water stunt. Look at this. So he's tagged Coulthard coming out of turn 1, high on the left. And they're just bumping and grinding on the run down here. So that was pretty amazing exchange. 3 cars will never fit into this turn 2, 3, 4 chicane. And they all popped out the other side, and they were all still on 4 wheels.
It was days of thunder stuff. Remember me? Van Gisbergen by 1 second over Whincup. Here's David Wall. We've been talking about him ahead of David Reynolds. Look at Lee Holdsworth here, having a look at Todd Kelly on the Car Sales Altima. He gets through. So Lee Holdsworth up to 10th spot now, and Caruso coming for the ride.
And that's given easy passage for Michael. So Michael Caruso getting by Todd Kelly, but for Lee Holdsworth, he was able to sneak on by at turn 1. Todd gave him some cooperation there. He spotted him in the mirror and then just opened up the steering a little to give some space. So there's a lot of movement up and down the field at the moment, and intense battles everywhere.
Whincup is coming. Fastest lap of the race belongs to him at 28.85. He's narrowed the margin. It was out to 2 seconds. It's back down to 0.7.
Interesting that Whincup did that lap on lap 21. So have a look on the bottom left of screen. You realise he's done later in the game. So let's ride with him, get a bit of an understanding of the way in which this car's working. It also gives us a bird's eye view of Shane.
Fastest car on the circuit. Make sure you're happy with that bar. Have a drink, smooth and consistent.
1 minute 29.3 then for Jamie Whincup. His footwork's impressive. The way in which he treats the brake pedal. The job that he's doing of guiding this car around here at the moment is super smooth.
Tim Slade, a really nasty moment and a really tough way to end your session, end your year.
Yeah, obviously less than ideal. We trucked along pretty good there after our pit stop. We had some really good speed. The car felt quite good, and the car's good. You look forward to the rest of the race. And we had some good clear air there, and yeah, sort of just at no warning heading into that second last corner, and sort of it's only like a slight brake there, and you sort of roll out of the throttle pretty gently and turned, and then the throttle just jammed. So yeah, it sort of really caught me by surprise. Didn't even really have time to get the clutch or anything like that, and just sort of braced and let out a bit of a moan when I hit the wall to try and make it a bit softer. But yeah, it was a pretty hard hit.
Been seen by the medical team. You feeling okay?
Yeah, feeling not too bad. Just a little bit sore from the belt, as you'd expect. But yeah, other than that, I'm not dying or anything, so all good.
I'm glad to hear that. Enjoy your off-season. We look forward to seeing you in 2016.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, obviously not the nicest way to finish it, but yeah, I'll enjoy, and I'm really looking forward to next year.
Thanks, Tim.
Ta.
Laid down a very good time in the shootout this morning. He was the first of our competitors out there, and it looked good. This is another shot of Garth Tander just driving his way between these two guys. Scott Pye to the extreme right of your screen, Fabian Coulthard to the left. Coulthard doesn't want to yield all that easily and gives him a bit of a touch as they come through the chicane. Awesome.
I think it also plucked the sill panel off Garth Tander's car. So it started with a little bit of contact between Tander and Coulthard on the exit of turn 1. They've had a couple of moments through the season, and Scotty Pye on the left. And how they managed to pop out of here is a little bit of a miracle, but they did, incredibly. And Tander was the one in front at the end of all that. Here's this intense battle at the front. It's 0.8 of a second at the moment between Van Gisbergen and Whincup, and then a gap back to Rick Kelly. He's 2.9 seconds behind Jamie. We'll actually get an idea of where everybody is in terms of your favourites. So there's our leaders. Rick Kelly in the Jack Daniels Nissan is next. Then it's Scotty McLaughlin. And here we go with James Courtney. So James is getting good clear air laps here at the moment. Bright is slightly out of sequence. Winterbottom, Wall, Reynolds. There's a bit of a queue here at the moment. Holdsworth, Caruso, Todd Kelly, Tander, Pye, Coulthard, Lowndes, Chris Pither, Morse coating the inside front tyre, and Jack Perkins.
It's an awesome piece of road that ordinarily the Royal Easter Show for New South Wales is staged here. It's a bit like a ride, the Royal Easter Show. 0.84 between Van Gis and Whincup. Wright's recovered a bit here. He's had a good first sector, so go back here to Michael Caruso. There's Garth Tander and Scott Pye. Penske truck rental livery on this car this weekend, the 17. They made the decision after Bathurst, after being pacey, Scott Pye and Marcus Ambrose, that they would expand the operation to 2 cars. Big move next year. Fabian Coulthard leaving Brad Jones Racing to join that squad. They will be a formidable combination based on what we've seen so far this year. It's not been a happy hunting ground so far this weekend for Scott Pye. Right now he's in 14th place, but the potential, the growth of this squad, and when you go to the workshop, the DJRT Penske workshop in Queensland, it is immaculate.
Here we are on board with driver whose outfit you were talking about there, Rusty, and starting to hear more people talking about brake temperatures out there at the moment, largely because many are following others, and so it's hot enough when you're on your own, but it's even worse when you're tucked in the train. So you have a big rise in brake temperature going into turn 1, and then not a lot of recovery time by the time they get down to turn 2, where we see a peak value of something in the order in the front brakes. The rotors will see 800 degrees Celsius or more down there, and so following another car, very possible that you could see a spike of another 30, 40, 50 degrees. And depending on how much blocker is in those front brake ducts for various teams up and down here, you'll see people beginning to go searching for slightly cooler air here to try and manage brakes. But that's starting to bubble up as a conversation on the radio.
As you ride with David Reynolds here, he has not been able to get by David Wall in 8th position. This is a good drive by David Wall. Oh, who locks the brake just as we were talking about him in the pace Volvo. Regathers, but that's an opportunity for Reynolds. It narrows, it funnels here. Difficult to get by.
Yeah, opportunity here for David while he's a bit scrambled in car number 34, David Wall. So for David Reynolds, the opportunity is down at turn 9. So being able to get right with him through 8, size him up for 9, he might be able to have a crack, and Lee will be onto it as well, who's had success at this racetrack. Now, he may not be close enough. So strengths and weaknesses in different places. David Wall's car is very good. Coates Hire chopper shows just how strong it was through the left-hander at 8. So David's got good braking performance down there, and he can range up on him. If he can get a little bit closer, he might be able to do a little bit more with it. So he's rattling on him on the way out there, and people are also in conversation at the moment about car balance, and the reason they're asking that is whether or not they want to make any changes to the car in the next stop, or whether they want to have any little bit of variation with the incoming tyre pressures.
47 to go. Keep working over his rear bumper if he can get close enough, mate.
How'd you like to hear that message when you're in a work environment that's probably 50 or 60 degrees? 47 to go. Just say again, did you say 47 laps? They'd be melting in these cars at the moment. And if your car's well behaved, and you're going okay at the front of the field, the mental damage with that message not too bad. But if you're in the middle of a pack or your car's a dog, then you're thinking, oh, please, how do I escape? Here's the lock-up. This is what put a little blip in the heart rate of David Wall here, and he carried that for some time, so he might have a little bit of damage on that tyre as well. And just as I was talking about people searching for air, we saw Lee Holdsworth do that on that previous live shot in car number 18. He was just hanging out in the breeze there, just trying to bring the temperatures down.
Smoke screen. As we look at it in real time. And then he moved to defend. Back now, Reynolds gets it done. This is real time, and he's through. So David Reynolds moves up to 8th spot now.
And that was always going to be the spot based on his braking performance down there. And now Lee Holdsworth's sizing up an opportunity, and he's made good on that threat too.
Riding with Worley here.
Jason Bright is asking for changes in the stop here as we go on board with David. So Reynolds down the inside, turn 9, nice and easy. So Bright's in 6th at the moment, and he's asking for an improvement. And Lowndes wants, I'm literally relaying it as I'm listening to him, he wants more front. He wants more performance out of the front of the car at the moment. So you'll see, I think, quite a number of people when they come in for their stop actually tweak the car to try and improve it, because, for example, Craig's down in 16th at the moment and on a ticket to nowhere. So he needs that car to just smarten up its performance if he's going to be able to do anything. And remember, they're trying to work towards what we describe as the critical lap. So they need to get to, depending on the individual fuel burns, around about lap 38 to fuel to finish, and then deliver the remaining of their 140 litres.
Right, Story. So a fair bit of close quarters racing going on out there. And there's your current driver, and there's the one that's adding to the team next year, DJR Penske. And they were side by side, except they had one car in between, forcing the gap down the middle. That was a moment for a bit of a heart race.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Garth's harder to pass than a kidney's done at the best of times, but he's a tough, good, fair racing.
Yeah, it was, but it was pretty exciting. It's good to see the boys out there going hard. What's Scott saying about his car at the moment? I mean, it's very hot out there, and they're in very close quarters. I mean, so engine temperatures, all that kind of stuff are raising. What he's saying about his car?
Yeah, we had a bit of trouble with the brakes in quali, and he's complaining a bit about that at the moment, but he's doing a good job, so we'll see how it goes. But while I've got you here, Greg, just want to congratulate our friends at ProDrive. They've done a great job this weekend, and we know them well. We're just delighted that they've come home with a championship.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
And when we watch on this V8 Supercars race, we look to the future in the Dunlop Series today, announced by Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport that he'll be entering a car in the 2016 at Dunlop Series. Lucas, that's very exciting for your team.
Yeah, it is. We haven't done anything with Dunlop Series before, so it's great to be able to, announce Alex racing with us next year, and I suppose to have, the youngest ever guy kind of ever racing in the Dunlop Series, matched with me, who's the youngest ever team owner. It's a pretty cool combo.
Alex Rulo, you are the driver. You've been racing in the Kumo Series. Big step up to the Dunlop Series next year.
Yeah, so the Kumo Series this year was a good place to learn. Now I think I'm ready to step to the Dunlop Series, and obviously Lucas's team is a great place to start.
And you'll have Nick Percat guiding you along.
Yeah, Nick will obviously help a lot. So he's been helping me out a little bit this year, so yeah, it definitely helps.
Awesome, very exciting for you, and maybe one day you'll be in the V8 Supercars yourself.
Yeah, hopefully that's the goal.
Good luck next year, mate.
Thanks.
Just keep an eye too on short cutting or any curb breaches at turns 1, 2 and 6. Turns 1, 2 and 6 as this race unfolds. They did warn in the driver's briefing you get a warning after the first, bad sportsmanship for the second, and a pit lane penalty if you do it for a third time. We have 44 laps to go in this one. Van Gisbergen leading by just 0.6 now over Whincup, Rick Kelly, Scott McLaughlin and James Courtney. Holdsworth's in the top 10. Good performance from Lee in his last outing with the Walkinshaw team. Next year, he will be in a Triple 8 prepared Commodore with Charlie Schwerkold.
Incredible just how intense this battle is between these two at the moment. They are not blinking, either of them. We saw evidence of this yesterday. Still sitting at 0.8 of a second between Van Gisbergen and Whincup, and they're driving every lap like a qualifying lap. Peak speed best of the race so far, Jamie Whincup, 128.85. For Van Gisbergen, 28.87. Frosty down the inside here of James Courtney. That is for position number 6.
That's awesome stuff, Van Gisbergen versus Whincup, and that sets up a great 2016 with those two guys in Red Bull colours in the same camp.
Last lap for both of them. For Shane was 129.6, and for Whincup, 129.6. There was nothing between them, and that's pretty much been the pattern every lap so far. Very impressive. Courtney in.
7th spot when he entered the lane.
Back around the rear ride height, take the rear up as well. So try and do it as quick as possible.
So 4 tyres and fuel, rear ride height adjustment.
Here we go. Stop. Okay, Dave's on the bodywork. Let's do the right height, fellas. One turn, down.
One turn down means they're looking for more drive out of the car, and that
bodywork
was hurting the right rear tyre.
Shut.
Unless they get a safety car, they can't get home from here, fuel.
Okay.
Oh yeah, look at the tyre on the right there. It's the bodywork's just eaten into it on the inside edge of it.
Go, mate, go.
Just while the boys...
Yeah, look at that. Just...
Okay, mate, cold hard tyres,
So that tyre that came off, there she goes. Have a look at the inside edge of that. It's just been completely eaten away. So that's been sliced by the bodywork on James Courtney. So on his car, had that stayed on there for much longer, that would have let go and thrown that car in the wall.
Bit of tape dragging by the looks of it. Doesn't look like it's sealed properly, but that's clearly why one of the boys reached in there and yanked back, pulled back part of the bodywork to get it away from rubbing on the tyre. We saw that during the stop.
So it's James will have felt that. I didn't pick it up on the radio, has reported it, and they've brought that car in. It's pretty second-hand down there, doesn't it?
Feel for him after such a good start.
On this amount of fuel, we'll have to stop again. Info, mate, info.
Yeah, so he's going to have to come in and stop again.
Back out to a second up in front between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. Rick Kelly doing a brilliant job for Nissan in position number 3. And McLaughlin in the Volvo 4th. Riding here now with Whincup.
I got your message about changing the stop.
Team, Red Bull Racing Australia, saying to Jamie Whincup they have got his message. They know the change he wants to make in the pit stop. James Courtney's been in. They've put some endeavour to pull the bodywork away from that rear tyre, which was rubbing substantially on it, put a bit more tape on the damaged bodywork, and they've sent him once again, but he does seem to be compromised, Neil, in terms of getting to the finish.
Well, it was a very good call by the Holden Racing team to bring him in. James will have felt a problem with this car because the right rear tyre was being chewed by that damaged bodywork, and it substantially tore the inside edge of the tyre away. They also took the opportunity to lower the rear ride height of the car, so James is trying to take a bit of the pointiness out of the car, getting it to sit down on its rear a little more and drive better. And if you just have an eagle eye and look on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the inside edge of that tyre is damaged to the point of delamination. Now, James also has only pulled on 119 odd litres of fuel. So not only can he not get to the end, he hasn't actually taken on the mandatory amount of fuel here, and that bodywork looks pretty suspect. I'm not sure it's going to make it to the end. And there's the tyre that's been chewed up by that bodywork. So had that gone on for probably only a few more seconds, maybe a minute or two, that would have let go. And you don't need much imagination to understand what that could mean around here.
Well, Kevin Fitzsimons and the team from Dunlop survey, or have a look at that tyre. We go back to the tyre helicopter and look at the gaps here.
So it's turned to a massive 0.9 of a second now between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. It's a 10th up. There's Rick in 3rd place, and then the gap back to 4th, Scotty McLaughlin. There's Jason Bright in a distant 5th at the moment, and he's also calling for change to his car in the stop. But he's got big pressure at the moment from Mark Winterbottom. It's all over the back of him, and then another big gap back to David Reynolds. David is in 7th place. Lee Holdsworth, true to his form at Sydney Olympic Park, is in 8th. Then David Walsh coming under threat at the moment from Michael Caruso. Then Todd Kelly, who's locking brakes down here as well. Then it's Scott Pye, Fabian Coulthard and Craig Lowndes. A lot of people calling for changes to their car. very different deal setup-wise today than yesterday. The track's rubbing in a little bit more, but there's a lot more temperature around and pretty punishing UV on the racetrack as well.
Garth Tander. See all that sill panel damage from that exchange earlier with Fabian Coulthard and Scott Pye, and a bit of curb action there as well. And that's Adrian making little debrief notes in his notepad that he'll take back to the shop. And it's not as though they go on Christmas holiday this evening, so there's still a lot of work to do for that group going into 2016. They'll do a set down with their cars, and here we go. So a problem getting off the curb here for Bright, and that's an invitation for Frosty. He's got a little bit of rubber or damage or a plastic bag or something on the front of that car now as well, and he clears Jason Bright.
Do you get chills at the thought of a plastic bag in that area?
Yeah. So he's cleanly by. So just going back to those remarks, they do a set down with the car, so they measure everything up after it comes back from the racetrack to understand the condition that they finished in. Problem here for a problem for Whincup. So he's also on the limit and looking for improvements, and he's run off. That's the reason why there's some gap now that didn't exist before. Rick Kelly's gone to second, and it's a 5.8 second margin, Van Gisbergen to Rick Kelly. Here's why. It's turn 8. He coaxes it around the corner. Nice job.
Only needed about 4 more laps on this net if you need.
Nice job to rotate it. No real damage done, but he has dropped a spot, and it's all good news for Rick Kelly, for Jack Daniels.
Well, boys, that couldn't have come at a worse time. The gap between Gisbergen and Whincup was down around that second mark, and based on the calculations looking at the fuel rigs between 97 and car 1, it looked like Whincup was going to be able to jump Shane Van Gisbergen to the pits because of the less amount of fuel that he needs to put in that car. But now, that calculation, she's out the window.
Total fuel that's gone into Jamie's car, 66 litres. Total fuel for Shane Van Gisbergen, 97 litres. Correction, Shane Van Gisbergen was 58 litres, my apologies.
So replay of Mark Winterbottom. The BOC Commodore is in trouble. They make contact. Frosty moves through to 5th position.
So hearing more about long brake pedals at the moment, and Jason just couldn't get that thing mobile off the other side. There's a little bit of contact. These guys have raced pretty vigorously, but very well over the years, and Frosty gets through. That's for position 5. Lowndes down the inside of Coulthard. He's been working on that one for a while, and then Fabian gets back up the inside. Looking at the timing and scoring at the moment, though, Craig Lowndes has got track position over Fabian Coulthard. More on the replay here of the exchange between Bright and Winterbottom, and it could have been a bit ugly there when he tripped out the other side, Jason Bright.
Back with Craig Lowndes. 13th right now. It's Scott Pye up the road ahead of him. Just a contrast of fortunes yesterday between the two heavyweight teams in qualifying. For one of those two races, Frosty put that Pepsi Max Ford on pole. Brilliant job, great message to the pit lane. And Craig Lowndes, unfortunately, the sectors were good.
A few to go, nice and quick, let's close up that gap in front.
Ended up in the wall. And to start one of the races from the rear of the grid. Hot day at Sydney Olympic Park, and the equipment is feeling it. Hammering these cars over the curbs, and big spikes in brake temperature. Look at Lowndes sliding there. Fabian Coulthard in the background. Good sector from Rick Kelly. Been quick in that first sector. He's 6 seconds behind Van Gisbergen.
This has just been ongoing now for quite some time, so Coulthard and Lowndes just at it, and it's been going on and on and on pretty much for the whole race, and that's turn 2, 3, 4. Back to our race leader here. He's got 6 seconds in hand over Rick Kelly. Looks pretty comfortable there at the moment, doesn't he? And this is the performance that Greg Murphy was quizzing Shane Van Gisbergen about when they were chatting on the grid, that this is potentially the fulfilment of the promise that we've seen here in years gone by, plus in the practice. I mean, early in the weekend, he just kept punching out 1 minute 27.7s like he was a machine. very impressive.
2 race wins here. He's done a brilliant job over time at Sydney Olympic Park, hasn't he? And he leads comfortably at the moment. There you can see the gap right back to Kelly.
Seven podiums for Shane van Gisbergen coming into the weekend. A couple of wins. Pole here in 2013. But this would be a great result also for Rick Kelly if he can convert from here. It's farewell, as we've detailed, to Jack Daniels after a decade in V8 supercar racing. A great way for them to end this relationship with Nissan Motorsport and with Kelly Racing. One of the things that's been super impressive for many years for Rick is his ability to be able to get consistently to the end of these long and tough races. So they're starting to get organised now. You're going to see not only all the obvious stuff for fuel and tyres, but you're going to see changes made to cars as well. And the first in here is Scott McLaughlin from 4th position.
Turn in, mate. Stop on the marks. Nice and easy.
And keep an eye on whether or not anybody makes any changes to the... there's a little change to the back of McLaughlin's car, so they're just changing the rear damper on both sides. Fuel's the limiting factor here in terms of time, so they're able to do that easily. Look at the damage at the rear.
5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 seconds.
5 minutes would be Greg Murphy style. So they're past the critical lap. And
all the tyres are on. So we're just going to wait on the fuel.
And they, I think, made changes to either tyre pressures or one other adjustment to Bright's car here.
Clear at the moment, so you're going to go on the drop. Still clear.
It's just a bit of rubber debris.
Clear, go.
Jason Bright's car. A little bit of pickup gets flicked around inside the rims. And with the extreme temperatures in there, you see those flames. Courtney goes through. Here's Bright. So still steady 6 seconds between Van Gisbergen and Rick Kelly.
A couple of you asking on social media about that pit lane incident for James Moffat before, which brought some of the gantry and the nitrogen bottles down. It will be investigated post-race. They will look into it afterwards. Dale Wood
here for Dale Wood. The other thing that is material on a day like today is do not discount physical and mental aspects of shaping up for a 3rd race on a hot weekend after a long, tough season. 250 Ks of racing yesterday, but psychologically having to go through the whole process of 2 starts and managing strategy and vigorously battling others. As look at the flurry of activity here. Wall, Kelly, Pye, Lowndes all in. So some of these mistakes and these weird things that are happening are just as a result of drivers being well worn.
Hello, please, mate. Very important we get that done. The license where use that lead. He'll be here for a little while, mate. So have a breather.
Nicely in the box. That's brake dust. In front of Craig's car, the outgoing wheels.
Please, yeah, do a string good, man. We've still got 13 seconds, mate. Nothing much happening at the moment.
3 3/4 litres a second of the United E85.
Seconds, mate.
That's the refuelling rate.
Flying coming down the road. You're clear.
Sorry, just to clarify, 3 3/4 litres per second. And that's universal across the field. So pretty standard stop there for Craig Lowndes. And there's the race leader in the background.
Textbook stop from Red Bull, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he arrived on the spot too, which is a really important part of that story.
Just let Lowndes know he's got fresh tyres too.
So overshooting or undershooting into the pit bay has a big effect.
So second round of pit stops starting to take place. 34 to go. Here's David Reynolds in the lane now, and Lee Holdsworth as well. This is from 5th and 6th place respectively. Caruso's come in too for Nissan.
So it's been a good campaign today from Lee Holdsworth, Charlie Schwerkold's car. Here's Michael Caruso in. This is the team that were affected by that gantry being whacked a bit earlier. They're topping up the water in that car there as well for the driver and the cooling system. Tanda clobbered the tyres over at turn 6. Tear off as well. being removed from that car.
Oh, this will be close. Oh, was there a touch?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. That'll be an unsafe release for 18. And they were in the right-hand rear door. I was looking in the back of Tander's car there to see what they were fiddling with there on that car, and then looked up and saw all this other aggravation in the pit lane. So that'll probably result, assuming that contact was established between those cars, for a penalty for Lee Holdsworth. Rick Kelly from second, Jamie Whincup from third in. Van Gisbergen's still out there.
Just done, mate. We're just waiting on fuel.
Dry ice, water going into
Well, we've got
the
about
car.
10 seconds, mate. 10 seconds. We're
Here's the
clear pit
refueler
lane.
in
You'll be good to go
the
on
left-hand
the
corner. That's what's governing the
still
standstill time here, the fuel.
5 seconds, mate. Get ready to go.
Little
Clear
adjustment
pit lane.
here
You'll be straight
for
to the
Jamie.
right
So
lane,
see them working under the back of the car.
Still clear. Go, go, go. Straight to the front lane. Pack up. Loss coming. Pack up.
Good work. You clear for now, mate. Clear. Clear. Clear.
Quite a lot of car fiddling going on just to try and make the car stronger for this final stint.
Cold, hard tyres. 4 cold, hard tyres. Cold, soft. Cold, cold front, cold front.
So Pither, Moffat, Perkins, Alex Davison in the pits as well. Van Gisbergen 21 seconds ahead of Mark Winterbottom at the moment.
Hearing there may be no issue with the release of car 18. Bonded up on Jack Perkins' car here at LD Motorsport.
Well, that's weird because it appeared as though there was contact.
Yeah.
That's actually a great shot of those captive wheel nuts in the back of the wheel for the incoming wheel on Shane Van Gisbergen's car.
We'll give you a tear off. 14 seconds to go. Just holding for fuel. Should be about 8 seconds or so, mate.
Nope.
Should be clear the glow when you drop. Holding for fuel. Just holding. Stand by. You're clear, you're clear, you're clear.
Leaves Mark Winterbottom in the lead. So a nice straightforward stop there for Van Gisbergen. So he'll be fine, and the opportunity that they took to take the stop when they did meant that he had clear air. That was a really important part of the story there for Shane Van Gisbergen.
Another takeaway thing from the stops is that Whincup, despite that blue he made before, has been able to get back in front of the Nissan of Rick Kelly in the order at the moment. Winterbottom, the effective leader of the race. And yet to see him stop for a second time.
So there's absolute contact there. So we're hearing that you were suggesting a minute ago that there's no case to answer there. There's absolute contact.
So Winterbottom is at the front of the field at the moment. Second round of stops underway. Van Gisbergen doing a very good job as effective race leader. This is looking like a mighty finish to the season. Shame for Perkins. They wheel that car away at LD Motorsport. What a year it's been for them. They've been resilient, those guys. They've not, I mean, even from when we got to the Super Test at Sydney Motorsport Park down the road at the beginning of the year, they've been pulling lots of late nights trying to get those cars ready. They've had all kinds of issues to contend with. And a drama for Jack Perkins today. What a shame. Brought in in the last few days to sub for the injured Nick Percat.
So Winterbottom's got a 36-second lead over Van Gisbergen at the moment. And he's got to get about 70 litres of fuel on.
Yes,
and Nick's just quietly reading a magazine there at the moment, probably reading about his own misfortune in the recent past. And as you say, difficult for those guys. A bit of a shame, but they have seen plenty of good results through the year. And that was one of the Holden Racing Team cars attacking the racetrack from the wrong direction. I think it was car 2. So there'll be somewhere in the order of 45 to 50 seconds of stationary time for Winterbottom to get his fuel on here. So you can kind of work out where he's going to drop back in as well with a 36-second margin over Van Gisbergen. So it's sort of going to end up back there in the 5th or 6th realm.
looks like it is Garth Tander. That's the car of Chris Pither behind him, and then Todd Kelly in the car sales Altima. So Pither is 18th, Todd Kelly 19th. It is Tander that we were watching there a moment ago in car 2. David Wall ahead of him. Started the day on pole position with James Courtney. Their cars are a bit battered and bruised. Courtney is 8th at the moment, waiting for Winterbottom to take his second stop. It's a 36.1 second advantage that he has over Van Gisbergen. So close to the wall on that occasion. That was James Moffat down in 20th spot in the Farrison Industries Nissan.
Now, interestingly, after adjusting the car, Whincup on the last lap was faster than Van Gisbergen by quite a margin, by about half a second. So there's only a couple of seconds between them at the moment. And we're waiting for the second stop here from Mark Winterbottom, who's leading. So Van Gisbergen is the effective leader of the race from position 2, and it's a pretty tight margin to Jamie Whincup, but right at the moment Whincup is faster.
There's a Pepsi Max crew car in the lane, but it's Steve Owen. You're riding with Winterbottom here now. Chasing Alex Davison, he stays out. This is the main straight.
Coming up on 8 seconds. Coming up on 8 seconds. Right, you're going to go as soon as it drops, Steve. Go as soon as it drops. Someone's likely to go. Don't give that help at all.
Let Frosty do his stop.
Cold green tyres. Cold green tyres. The track.
Steve's done there. We'll let Frosty do his stop, and then it might be worth taking a look at the state of play in the team's championship. Right now, Whincup would be 2nd in this race. Craig Lowndes would be 9th. So a good haul again for Red Bull Racing Australia. Maybe they will take that crown in 2015. 35 seconds the lead. They're standing by at ProDrive or Pepsi Max for Winterbottom. Looks like he'll be in this time around, Mark Winterbottom, for his second stop. There you go. 35.5 second advantage over Shane Van Gisbergen. Where in the order will he shake out once that stop's completed?
Well, he's got a 35-second lead at the moment, and he's got to get 70 litres of fuel into that car, and means he's going to be stationary for somewhere between 45 to 50 seconds, and that's probably going to drop him back somewhere in that 6th, 7th realm or thereabouts.
Gotcha that, mate. We'll do a tear-off as well, buddy. We'll do a tear-off as well. Anything else? Don't worry about tear-off. Save your money, mate. It's all good.
Save your money. Very budget conscious at the end of the championship season, Frosty.
Right, Cam, you've got that bit of rubber on the front bar. Yeah, it's rubber on the bar. That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's all right. Nothing you can do with that. Coming up on 5 seconds.
So Gizzy comes through.
Don't wait for those.
A little bit of damage to the front of the car after the incident with Bright. And he rejoins. He'll come back out behind Scotty McLaughlin, but ahead of Will Davison. So he'll be in 6th place. There's Davison now, so this will be close. Davison, in fact, might get by here. He does.
Yes, I thought it'd be 6th or 7th, so 6th it is. Hard to beat the math. So 5 seconds is the gap between Van Gisbergen and Whincup, and now we study their respective lap speed and splits. Their form is going to determine what happens here. And for a moment or two, not very long ago, Whincup really had good speed. It might have just been momentary traffic or a little mistake for Shane Van Gisbergen, so we'll try and track that and understand it. Here's Will. Remember, they had to deal with that damaged bodywork on the back of that car.
Nick Percat to avoid the the difficult task of watching a V8 race over actually racing the V8 race. You're choosing to read a magazine, but just how tough is it to sit here in a garage and watch all your competitors finish off this year?
It's definitely not ideal. Obviously, I really love racing in this track. It's one of my favourite on the calendar. It sounds a bit weird. A lot of people don't enjoy it because it's pretty tough, but I love the physical challenge of it. I love how hard it is to get a lap time out of it. I kind of like thrive for this kind of track, so it is difficult, but by the looks of it, Jack's having an interesting day, so I prefer to just be sitting here nice and cool. I haven't got a sweat reading a magazine. I think there's pizza coming, so it's all good. But yeah, it is definitely tough, and none of us want to do it. And obviously Chaz has done it, JC's doing it, so yeah, it's an interesting year for injuries.
I'm glad to see that you're feeling much better than the last time we saw you at Phillip Island. We look to see you back on the grid in 2016.
Well, thank you.
Just next door there to where Rihanna's been chatting, you can see the LD Motorsport guys top of the screen. Will Davison in.
It's close. Oh, come on, go.
He was running ahead of Mark Winterbottom, so Winterbottom now moves to 5th as the stops shake out. Will set to rejoin about 19th or 20th by the looks of it. Final hit out, final race for him with the Erebus team before he joins Techno Autosport in 2016, and he's very excited about that. Now, V8 Supercars is a family game, as you know, and today we'd like to get your help for a member of the media who's actually been covering the sport for 16 years. Michael Lynch's son, Joey, has been suffering Hodgkin's lymphoma since he was 16. Michael's a senior writer for The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald. Now, Michael's not asked for our help to promote this. That is not Lynchy's style. He's trying to raise $800,000 for specialist treatment in America that could save Joey's life. If you can, please go to supportjoey, all one word, .com.au, supportjoey.com.au. It's a site being run by Canteen, and make a donation if you can.
Boys, I noticed at the last stop for Steve Owen on screen right now that the team pulled the windows out of those cars, the Perspex windows, either side, in the driver's side and on the passenger side windows. They've got an electrical issue with this car at the moment. There's still a fair bit of talk going on in the garage at the moment, what they're going to do with it, and it's shutting down a few systems. One of them is his cool suit. I looked at the temperature on his cool suit before. It was around 30 degrees on the telemetry, so that makes it very, very hot for Steve Owen inside that car at the moment. So we'll just keep an eye on what's going to happen with that, because it may not be over just yet.
And they had an ECU issue move, didn't they? They had to change that halfway through. I think it was qualifying. So they've had some ongoing dramas, as you point out, with that car. Van Gisbergen leads the way by 4.5 over Whincup. Whincup has the fastest lap of the race so far, as we go back and have a look at Jason Bright. Lock up in car 8. Keeps it off the wall on that occasion. What about at this point? Oh, that'll be toast, that left front. And it is. So Bright limping back to the lane. It's gone. Tyre's gone. That's going to be very costly. Look at the damage to the back of the car. So some wounded cars in a gruelling race here at Sydney Olympic Park, being led by the Kiwi, Shane Van Gisbergen, over Jamie Whincup. Just listening to it, hobbling back to pit lane. Long, tough weekend for the Brad Jones racing team. Neil talked about it before, with Brad's wife, Melly, bringing in some extra parts, flying them in. Looks like Jack Perkins back out there, which is good. And they've had some bruised cars, both in the Dunlop Series and in the main game. 6 cars here this weekend for Brad Jones Racing. Massive undertaking, 60 staff or thereabouts working for them. And so this is inside the ProDrive garage in Steve Owen's car. It's been a pretty tough weekend. And down the other end of the lane, they've got their problems at Brad Jones Racing. They've had a few electrical gremlins with this car this weekend. And I'm watching very closely this margin between Van Gisbergen and Whincup as well. It's 4.4 seconds at the moment. And just a bit of a seesaw in their respective lap speed.
Steve Owen will be cooking in there at the moment.
Even for the lucky people that get to go for a ride around here for a lap or two on Friday at the conclusion of practice, you cannot get over how intense it is. And the temperature is a lot warmer today. It is really a very unforgiving thing. They've got to be super fit, these guys, to contend with that. Then when something like that goes wrong,
I was lucky to get back without any further trauma there for Jason Bright. That must really hurt. What a shame, considering the speed that he's shown so far this weekend.
We can't see any damage, just the rim is broken in half. So just feel it out, okay? Just feel it out.
Qualified 11th. Yeah, it's done a machining job on the rim. You could put it up on the wall. Use it as a dartboard or something, yeah.
Couldn't feel it. Easing the caution, get a feel for the car, and slowly lift your pace.
So Jason Bright qualifying 11th, coming in early, remember, just to do something different strategically, hoping that there'd be a payback on that later in the day. But that's really hurt. Plummeted him down the order. He's in 21st position now. Meantime, in the garage, in 22nd position. And they're doing open heart surgery on that little electrical bulkhead there for Steve Owen and putting another unit in there.
It's not the first time this year we've seen them do that. It happened at Bathurst, an electrical issue for the guys, didn't it? They had to fix on the run.
Yeah, they had their Apollo 13 moment there where they had the ground crew trying to resolve it, you know, all scratching their heads trying to figure out how to get it working while the car was orbiting.
Meantime, up in front, Van Gisbergen by 4.7 over Whincup. Rick Kelly, Scott McLaughlin, Mark Winterbottom, they are your top five. And with the second round of stops done, we'll look at the team's championship shortly. Gizzy up close to the wall. Just as he did on the streets of Surfers Paradise, with a pole position and a race win, Shane Van Gisbergen, similar kind of brutally unforgiving street course. The Kiwis reveling once again. That gives you an idea. There's the gap back to Jamie Whincup. It's 5.1 seconds now. Jack Perkins is out of the order, if you like, there at the moment. Jack's actually down in 24th place. After they chased an issue with that car, he's back out. Riding with Jamie. David Couchy made a demon tweak to that car. Bright comes back to pit lane again. He had a puncture to the lane a short time ago, a badly damaged rim. And obviously not convinced that that issue was fixed.
There's something underlying here. So they need to go in there and actually see what's going on with the upright or top or bottom wishbone or whatever it is that just affected the geometry that's making it feel weird. Meantime, here we are with Jamie Whincup at the moment. Still 5.2 seconds the gap, first to second. 29.3 last lap for Van Gisbergen. 29.9 for Whincup on the last lap. So there must have been a little momentary blip in the lap speed difference between them that I caught a few laps ago. If anything, at the moment, things are slightly favouring Shane.
Less than 22 to go now.
And Richard Holway has just told Scotty McLaughlin, go back to fuel conserve, just cruise around and try and make it home in fourth position at the moment. So that doesn't sound too racy for him. And they've got Steve Owen back out, got it fired up. So that's a little anomaly that's happening, as you said, Rusty, too often at the moment in there that they'll need to look at to get sorted going into the new season. They've had a couple of problems. They had a crank trigger sensor or something yesterday on car 6, and then some other electrical problems, and we made mention of what happened to them at Bathurst. So it'll be cause for concern inside that garage from a reliability standpoint. Chris Pither here, Super Black Racing, I should say. A lot of supers out there. There's some supermen in these conditions pressing on. He's done a pretty nice job when you consider that he's 15th in the field at the moment, the young Kiwi. Tony Lentino, no doubt, will be watching on the other side of the pond and playing himself in for what will be a full-time season next year in that car. And there's something going on here as well, unfortunately for McLaughlin. So whatever the issue was that Richard was trying to counsel Scotty to deal with, and Courtney's in as well in car number 22. Remember, he didn't have all of his 140 litres on James Courtney, I made reference to him earlier. That was an attack of the killer air spike then, wasn't it?
Hey, Brad Jones, I think we've just about seen it all for you guys this weekend. Slicing that wheel in half like that, I mean, we couldn't actually understand or see why that had happened.
No, must have got a rock or something in there from the circuit, and it's just cut the rim in half, which is really unfortunate because, you know, he's had a lot of pace all weekend, and so we were trying pretty hard with an alternate strategy to get him in with the leaders, but, you know, when he did get there, when there was a safety car, he's on 17-lap old tyres, but, you know, it's unfortunate, really.
It is very unfortunate. You guys have been through it. You boys have worked very hard this weekend. There's been a lot of parts thrown at these cars. This place is pretty brutal.
Yeah, it is. And normally when you cut a rim in half like that, if it happens in the wrong spot, you end up in the fence. So, you know, unlucky that happened, but lucky it happened where it did. So, anyway, looks like we're on top of it. We'll see what happens at the end.
Thanks, bro.
No worries.
Yeah, we just saw Scott McLaughlin drive into the garage. He's got a steering issue of some kind. They're not exactly sure what the problem is, but bad news for Scott McLaughlin. Was running 4th at the time, so disappointing end to his season.
Yeah, and it's the brutality of the curbs.
Give it a smash with a hammer or give it a bit of toe out.
So some smash with the hammer. Try and get it back out there. So amazing images from this Olympic complex. So that was the voice of Scott McLaughlin in the background. They're just going to try and get that car patched up, but it'll inevitably have come from leaping across the curbs. And some people last night were making significant changes to their cars to just update parts on there, knowing how much load that all the load-bearing items deal with. Now, somebody else is coming in this lap. I just picked up a radio message as well. I didn't catch the number on the scanner. But, yeah, so top and bottom arms, having a really long, hard look at hubs and spindles, because just, as you can see, it's pounding across the top of the curbs here, just so brutal. So it's somewhere along the line for Scotty. He's obviously caught a curb badly and it's tweaked the steering on that car. This is James Moffat, and this car's been in the wars this weekend. They've had to do an enormous amount of remedial work to get it back out there. Unfortunately, he's had good pace on occasion, James Moffat, and he's in the last club this weekend, so last outing for him with that outfit, and he's on the run. He'll actually be in a Volvo next year, and right on cue, there's one on screen.
Go back to this replay here of James making the move on Todd Kelly. Todd's in 15th, James to 14th. Here's Rick Kelly now, 3rd in this race.
Scott Sinclair. Scott Sinclair, all year you make me look extremely small, so the boys have kindly donated a step ladder, so I'm going to be taller than you for once now. Rick Kelly in a really fantastic position at the moment. 19 laps to go, but Mark Winterbottom coming in strong.
Yeah, well, this actually suits me better because all year I've been slumped over talking to you, so I can stand up straight as well. Yeah, Rick's going good, really good. We got a good gap on Frosty. We got him covered, we think, so we just got to finish it off, and that'll be a good result for the team to finish on the podium. It's always good to finish the last race of the year with a bit of momentum, so hopefully we can get it done.
Yeah, fingers crossed you stay in a great position.
Thanks.
Richard Emery, the boss of Nissan Australia, has been here this weekend. So is young Matt Simmons, incidentally, who won the PlayStation Academy program for them. He's got some big things in the Blancpain GT series planned. He's been hanging in the pit with them. Van Gisbergen leading the way by 5.7 over Whincup. Winterbottom sits in 4th place right now. We go back to the Wilson security team. What a character building year this has been for Scotty. The onboard was pretty telling before the reaction from him. So they're having to do a pretty significant repair there. So here's Steve Owen back in, unfortunately, nosing into the garage. Always an ominous sign. Gap 1st to 2nd, 5.6 seconds Van Gisbergen to Whincup. And if anything, Shane Van Gisbergen does have pace and consistency on his side at the moment. Isn't that a cracking shot? Turn 6 and 7. It's going to be an interesting challenge for Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes next year at Red Bull. Really looking forward to that. It'll be fascinating to see the two of them in the same camp together. And we know he likes these kind of venues, Van Gisbergen. We love the fact that he freestyles. And it's been a great head-to-head encounter, the two of them this weekend. You've watch them lap after lap trade times. They're 1 and 2 in this race at the moment. Yes, there's a 5.8 second gap. You're splitting them by hundredths of a second at times. There's Scotty McLaughlin, a dejected Scotty McLaughlin at the end of a year where he's at least had podiums and pole positions, but not the success, the same level of success we saw in 2014. They've worked hard, Gary Rogers Motorsport, to overcome some of those things. Let's hope they're back and winning again in 2016.
So also looking to see Will Davison in the Techno car next year, driving for the Webb family, and Steve Hallam running that outfit. That'll be an interesting combination, and not very corporate really of Rick Kelly to not fly the logo in an appropriate manner there. Richard Emery will probably be taking notes. So if that's the least of your damage this weekend, it'd be good news, wouldn't it?
Here's Frosty.
Oh, only just managed to get away with that one. Nearly bowled a wide down there at turn 7.
Back with him now, 4th position. The other car of Steve Owen back in the bunker.
Chasing the steering wheel a bit there coming out of turn 4. So the pace is disappearing for a few of them here as well, which will be part tyres, part brakes, part pilot.
He has the most race wins of anybody of the year so far with 9. Frosty. Jamie Whincup, if he were to find a way around Van Gisbergen, may be able to equal that marker. And they've, of course, secured the pole record too with Mostert. He was mighty prior to that crash at Bathurst. 10 poles for the year, Chas Mostert. Awesome stuff. The next best, Jamie Whincup with 6th. Good there for Alex Davison. Family sport, our game. We go inside. I think that might be Judd, is it? Down at the Darrell Lee Sticks team.
We've all had those days where we wanted to chuck the stuff on the floor.
I still do it. It's been an awesome few days around the former Olympic precinct here in Sydney. Great way to conclude the championship. We've had so many things to talk about over the course of 2015, and that'll be the way that we wrap things up here as well. Van Gisbergen leads this race by 5.8 over Jamie Whincup, the guy that he will join at Red Bull Racing next year. They'll expand effectively to 3 cars with Craig Lowndes in Caltex colours, more personnel coming on board, and look at the team's championship. Given the dramas for Steve Owen, the fact that Craig Lowndes is currently 6th, Red Bull Racing Australia set to take the team's championship crown. That was not the story coming into this weekend. It was the Pepsi Max crew with a 70-plus point advantage coming in. They have turned that around, Red Bull Racing.
5.8 seconds is the gap, first to second at the moment. Van Gisbergen over Whincup. We're approaching the last 50 kilometres of racing for 2015. Craig Lowndes on screen here is in 6th. Not a bad recovery considering he qualified in 13th position. He was in a fairly jovial mood, but I had a chat to him start line for the group photo just prior to entering this final race. His pace
in front, has pole position, multiple laps down.
Has stepped up as a result of some changes they made mid-race there as well. So he's found a little bit of pace. He's also a machine. He's done so much of this over such a long period of time. He's very good at playing himself along. In fact, he enjoys these sorts of races. Come into the weekend with a staggering 578 V8 supercar races. He's down in 23rd as a result of the problems we detailed earlier for Team BOC. The car a little bit bent and broken. And they've sent Scotty McLaughlin back out, by the way. He's still showing in 21st position. And Richard cautioned him that it might oversteer a little bit because they were adjusting the toe with a hammer, not a precision device.
Mark Dutton, this place is a brutal racetrack, isn't it? You've just got to be pinpoint accurate. The car has to be strong and last to get around this place. How are you two boys handling at the moment? Their cool suits still all good?
Yeah, that's all going well, but I mean, you're seeing everyone having little lock-ups, taking too much curb, not enough curb, running wide. It's it's not terribly exciting, but it's still sort of keeping us holding our breath.
Well, it does. It keeps us holding our breath too. Now, this team's championship, which you guys took the lead over yesterday, tell us, I mean, how important is it to have that next year, to have this #1 pit spot for your team?
Yeah, well, then we know where to set up our equipment. We've been here for a few years, so we wouldn't know where else to put it. So the boys have been complaining about that. But then for the jokes aside, for the performance side, it's more time in practice. It's more time in quali. It's dictating if you want to lead or be behind people. The pitch strategies are affected as well. You don't have people cutting you off in front that you're not racing for position, as we've seen with other people. So it is pretty critical.
I'm sure it is. Well, it's only a few laps to go. Good luck with it.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
Just on Craig Lowndes, you were talking about him before. He's only 1 place behind David Reynolds, so we'll cement second in the Drivers' Championship. And we should point out, in terms of the milestones you talked about in career terms, 250th round start this weekend for Lowndes, equaling Russell Ingall for the record. And that will only be beaten, of course, when we reconvene in the Championship for the Clipsal 500, the opening round of the Championship, March 2016. We can't wait for that. So
keep in mind, Russell moves those markers from time to time. So that's a moving feast, that number.
Is the phone ringing now for something for 2016, you think, for him?
Well, one of the highlights, genuinely, for me during the year was to watch him jump in and be effective and great character in the sport. And, we saw some really strong performances there. So he keeps on moving those numbers north. And great power, love him. So, we're all out there waving the flag.
And for 2 big teams to drive 2 races with the Holden Racing team and with the Pepsi Max crew on the Gold Coast.
6 seconds still, pretty much frozen between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. I'm just watching every sector split at the moment. Frosty's still got pretty good pace. Fastest car on the track, believe it or not, at the moment, down in 17th, is James Courtney, of all people. And he's a bit out of sequence with everybody, so he's got some fresher rubber. That always helps. Whincup on the last lap was the 9th fastest. Van Gisbergen was the 3rd fastest. But Winterbottom, who we're monitoring at the moment, all of a sudden, he's picked up a little bit of pace in the last couple of laps relative to those around him. We're edging towards the top end of the 29s as well. We'll see 30s any tick of the clock with 13 laps remaining. And in fact, that gap's just opened up ever so slightly now between Van Gisbergen and Whincup. And still a very, very good job being done here at the moment by Rick Kelly and Nissan Motorsport in 3rd. They'll take heart from that performance heading into 16.
Most definitely. And Michael Caruso in the 10 as well. And nice work, we should also say, by Lee Holdsworth. He's the best placed Walkinshaw car right now. He's 7th in his final outing in that car. Charlie Schwerkolt establishing his own team, a Melbourne-based outfit with Jeff Grech, making a comeback to be team boss there next year with 888 equipment. Lee's, of course, had pole positions at this venue before, 3 of them, and he won a race here in 2010.
Oh, I just should add also, Rusty, because I went back and looked at it, but we got distracted, or I got distracted. I've got goldfish mentality, easy distracted. Here's the Johnsons, by the way, Stephen on the right and Dick on the left. I had to look back into trying to understand the way in which race control read that incident for the pit lane release that involved Lee Holdsworth before, in case anybody's wondering. And contact between the cars in the fast lane or entering the fast lane may be accepted when any contact is forward of the front wheel or behind the rear wheels and no significant damage has been incurred by either. So that'll be the ruling that's been applied in that instance. But sometimes it's a little bit hard to know exactly which way that one's going to drop or how it's seen in race control, but that'll be the reason there's benefit of the doubt there, despite there being a very solid, obvious contact.
Heard of Judge Judy? That's Judge V8 Supercar.
I wish I made as much money as she does.
She makes a killing. So Chris Pither, the Kiwi, riding in 13th place at the moment for Super Black Racing. His 2nd outing with this team as a full-time peddler, if you like, and lining up for a big season with them in 2016. Great opportunity. It's been tough for Andre Heimgartner, but he's again continued to support the squad. He's here in the pit lane and the paddock this weekend. Look at them continuing to ride those curves out close to the wall. Back on board with the Kiwi here now. Little left foot braking. 111 gets nice and close to that wall on the outside. Moffat in behind him and Todd Kelly.
Things to look at there. And Will Davison on the radio just reporting the car's just lost all grip, like it's got a damper problem or some other issue. Whincup at the moment, incidentally, is on target for podium 15 of this season, and Shane Van Gisbergen on target for podium number 7. Jamie's numbers have just been going up with an arrow in recent races. And despite a bit of an up and down race, Garth Tander's just knocking on the door of the top 10 at the moment as well, still in combat with Fabian Coulthard. They're 2.9 seconds apart on occasion. They've been nothing apart, exchanging paint. I had to giggle when I watched that battle on the run down to turn 2 involving Fabian and Scott Pye.
Holden on for the manufacturer's 11th win of the season. So, sorry, I should say they've won 11 of the last 12 races of the season. That is if Shane Van Gisbergen or Jamie Whincup get home to take this one out. So they've had a good end of the year, the beginning of the year, of course, with Frosty, those 9 race wins. Victories for Mostert as well. That was good for those Pro Drive Falcons.
Daniel Klemenko, a disappointing weekend for Will. He was going so good. He had a lot of pace today as well. And he was looking strong. Unfortunately, had that damage. They had to come to the pit lane.
Yeah, it's always a bit unfortunate when you cop a hit in the rear and you get the penalty for it. But then again, that happens in race starts with all the cars close together on this street circuit. So you've got to take it on the chin.
You do. Hey, some big changes happening here next year. David Reynolds moving into this team, which is pretty exciting. And also, any idea who might be filling that second seat in your car?
To be honest, the second seat, have no idea. I mean, we're still working out what's going on. I mean, this weekend we've got some great data from Alex this weekend. We also got some great stuff from Dean at the island. So, you know, we're happy to get the laps in and get the information because we need to work on our direction between now and the beginning of the season. That's your biggest workload. So we needed some different windows, you know, using Ash's data and Will's together. We needed a bit more for next year. So I think we got what we needed out of the 2 weekends. Who's next year, I can't say, but we are definitely looking forward to having Dave in the team. I think he's going to be a good fit.
I think you will be too. Hey, mate, good luck, and we hope to see you next year.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Just picked up the back end of a radio message also from Van Gisbergen, who's 6.3 up on Jamie Whincup at the moment as we look at David Reynolds in 5th. And the last bit of the remark was, and I'm really jealous of them, they look like they're having a good time. So I presume he's noticing spectators around the racetrack at the moment or on the big screen, and maybe suggesting it might be enjoyable to have a nice cold Coopers. So I think it was something along those lines. I think Jeff was encouraging him, giving him a bit of an update, and then I think we just got a little bit of fun commentary from him. So yeah, he's in a fairly relaxed state out there at the moment. He's still whistling along with good pace, and he's actually just opened up that margin ever so slightly to Jamie by another half second, even as I'm speaking.
Can we get some of those to the commentary box? 6.3 is the margin. Rick Kelly is 3rd.
And either the man on screen, David Reynolds, or Chris Pither, just been advised that they do have fresh cold water to drink. So one of them's complaining. They come up with wood in the fence, turn 9.
20th spot at the moment.
So look, reverse. There's a little lever on the gear lever they need to pull and then push all the way to the forward position with the lever. He's managed to get it out of there. 17 seconds from the lead of the race is Mark Winterbottom. A little bit of snout damage on car 21.
Copy, mate. What is expected?
And here's the replay of what happened to Dale down at turn 9. Now, the reason I'm chortling is that Scott McLaughlin's just been told how many laps there are to the end of the race, and he said it's the best news I've had all weekend.
Oh, James Courtney keeps it going. He's down in 16th place. That's Alex Davison there behind him now. Oh, it's the end of a brutal race meeting here. And he started from pole position. As Murph said before, though, the great thing is they've got speed. That's important as they head back to the Clipsal 500, and he will be hoping to defend that race once again. See that Frank the Tank on the roof of that car in 2016. Will it happen? It looks set to be an ultra-competitive year in this sport with movement. It started already. Movement in the order of 50% in the driver market. Lots of changes, lots more than we expected. Car 6 has got damage. That's Steve Owen.
Big damage.
Stop.
Pluck the right front out of it.
Right, falling off it.
So what do they do inside Cam's race control here? Steve Prix.
Boards and flags.
There we go, there's the live call for the safety car. He's the clerk, of course, in the grey shirt. Michael Massey's in the background observing. Race director is Tim Schenken. Jason Barguana, the driving standards observer.
She's not going anywhere.
Animated discussion between them as they waited for the appropriate moment in terms of the traffic, the lay of the land here before they deployed the Lexus RCF safety car. 7 laps to go in the final race of the season.
Turn 9, buddy. Activate that turn 9, activate that turn 9.
So, stranded car of Steve Owen, Adam DeBore there. Some other good stories that will... Well, it's a tough ending for Owen.
It's going to make a wild scramble to the end of this race because the field will condense and the boys will all go crazy. Tyres will cool out a little bit, pressures will drop, brakes will cool out a little bit. So that's going to make a pretty intense moment here and reinvigorate the battle between Van Gisbergen and Whincup and possibly even shuffle up the order further down, so you can guarantee that this will explode at the back end. This will be a real exclamation mark on the end of the championship.
Safety cars on track, You're going to come up to it right now.
He's looking for his 4th podium of the year combo, something he hasn't had since 2011, and it's an important one if he can get it, given the change we've talked about. With Jack Daniels moving on from a sponsorship they've had for 10 years.
And it's right now, when you come away from your regular driving rhythm, that you really feel the full effects of the heat. And it's like a furnace. Feel it right through your body. And here's what's happened to Steve. So by this stage, that right front suspension has already failed. And that'll be as a result of clouding a curb somewhere around here. Flick spin, thought he was going to be able to proceed, and then the team called time on it. Gregory's on the spot.
You're right. Tim Edwards, disaster for car 6. Did Steve hit something, or we had some sort of failure there? You're not sure?
No idea.
No idea. Obviously, it brings the safety car out and gives Mark an opportunity to hopefully, though, punch onto the podium with a bit of luck.
Yeah. I'd rather not have one of our cars out.
I know you would, but also finish on a high for Mark as well.
I mean, I think it's going to be a great end of the season, last 4 laps.
It has been a good end, but this one could make it pretty exciting.
It could.
Not too much from Tim Edwards towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I don't think he's too thrilled because he understands the implications of holding the current position in the pit lane, and the team's championship effect means that Red Bull stay where they are and ProDrive stay where they are, and the body language and the images that we've seen on a couple of occasions, he hasn't been that thrilled. Pretty tall order, you know. Steve Owen's an A-grader, but we say it over and over. The guys that we have out there regularly boxing on in the championship do make it look easy, the quality of their driving, the intensity of their driving, but because they do a lot of it, to drop in, particularly at this track, above all others, and then to try and be millimetre perfect and fast and not scratch the car, it's a tall order. So just goes to show how tough it is, and unfortunately for Stevie's had electrical problems and he's had to contend with some sort of a failure here. Whether or not it did it on its own or it's been induced remains to be seen.
And Red Bull, as the guys go to work here, will win that team's title for the 6th straight year, 7th time in the last 8 years, and as Neil said a moment ago, that's pivotal in terms of pit lane position for 2016.
An opportunity always when we see these images to thank the men and women that make up the officials group at these events and do all year. We've been to every state and territory in Australia bar the ACT. We've also been across to New Zealand, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Greg, along the way, there's been literally thousands of people that have contributed their time and energy and passion to make it go round, and all facets of the business. And it's
5 to go. Lights out on the safety car. We're about to resume racing. It will be a final frantic 5 laps in the 2015 championship. Van Gisbergen about to depart the Techno Autosport team. He wants to walk away with that win and thank them for his time before joining Red Bull Racing next year.
Get set for a big show here, because this is going to be wild. Shane's got control. They can't pass before they get to the control line. There'll be games up and down the group here, little square ups along the way.
Green flag, mate, green flag.
And that's the cue. So we'll see what happens. Do we get a clean lap? Tyres are cooled out fractionally, so have the brakes. Pressures have dropped a bit. Can't deliver the same braking reference and lap speed that you did prior to. 2 litres got away nicely from Rick Kelly. It's pretty clean so far into 1.
Down the inside comes the 22 of James Courtney. That's on Tim Blanchard. And that is for 16th spot. Will we go time critical here? 17:46 local plus 1 lap? We don't think so. We'll see.
Lowndes is in a position to have a crack here at David Reynolds as well. Remember that they've been in a championship battle. So good pace here from Van Gisbergen. He's already got a little cushion. Makes it turning into quite a decent one. He got a better run through 6 and 7 than Jamie, and has immediately taken a little bit of pressure away.
Special podium to come at the conclusion of this. We'll acknowledge our top 3 as usual, but a special moment for the champion. That trophy was delivered by helicopter earlier today and taken to the podium by one of the greats of our game, Coates ambassador John Bowe.
See the way Shane got at turn 9 then? He was parallel up to the wall, maximum brake pressure, braking the car in a very straight line to get the full footprint of both front tyres on the road. Look at this further down the order. Jason Bright on McLaughlin. That car's wounded, remember, the Volvo. They're going to go all the way into the second last corner side by side. How did that work out? Okay so far, and they'll try that trick in the last corner. McLaughlin pops out the other side, and now Jack Perkins, I think it is going to have a go at Jason Bright on the run down towards turn 1.
It's like the end of a long boxing match. They're still slugging it out. Here comes Jack Perkins now. Moves by Bright. 21st. Up front, 0.7 second advantage for Van Gisbergen over Whincup. Kelly still holds down 3rd and looking for his 4th podium of the year for Nissan.
Van Gisbergen's got him covered for pace at the moment, hasn't he, over Whincup? And he's already pulled out 3/4 of a second. And that little battle that's been going on all race between Coulthard and Tander, that's blazing as well at the moment between cars 14 and 2 in 10th and 11th. These guys, it's a big battle at the very back of the pack. Here's Todd Kelly. Todd at the moment is 17th, and he's got a fairly angry queue sitting in the back of him. And here's Bright having another crack at Jack Perkins at turn 8.
Something to bank away as we go back to the front of the field. Whincup, man, what a back end of the year he has had. On target for 9 straight podium finishes to round out the year. Isn't that an ominous warning potentially for 2016?
Yes, a huge turnaround when you look at their graphs and what they've done this year. Oh, big trouble here between Pippa and Wall. They're on the inside of the right-hander there at turn 11. And they managed to sort it out. Yes, but the front end on the Falcon is going to require attention by the look of it. Oh, and in fact, the left rear's, yeah, that's well torched.
And he'd been running just outside the 10, hadn't he? About 13th or 14th. That's happened. Lock break and the drama unfolds for Wall. Pither nowhere to go.
David Wall's view. He's got his hands full.
Is he held there or?
So you see him just squeeze that little lever and push the sequential shift forward, and I don't think he's even actually managed to get back into the pit box. There's so much damage on that car So 0.7 of a second. There's the gap. First to second. Van Gisbergen over Whincup. 2 laps remaining.
Awesome battle between these guys for 74 laps effectively. They've just traded lap times, haven't they? There's been nothing in it between the pair of them. They will be teammates next year.
Didn't light up quite like I thought across the first 3 or 4 cars. But the interesting little matchup going on 2 by 2 here. First and second and third and fourth. So 1 to go. Puts a full stop on the end of a pretty interesting 2015 championship season.
Van Gisbergen.
Seen great variety across our winners. We've had 9 different winners. In terms of second placings, we've had 11 people share a second placing. We have had 14 people share a third placing. So the spoils have gone far and wide. The championship has gone to ProDrive and to Mark Winterbottom, and Red Bull have made an emphatic statement at the back end of the championship, but there's no mistaking the concentration, the accuracy, and the sheer pace and brilliance of Shane Van Gisbergen, and Moffat's in the wars again. What a tough weekend James has had. So it's just about done for another year. Whincup's throwing everything at this, but I don't know that he's going to be able to get the job done. Shane Van Gisbergen's going to prevail in Sydney once more.
That'll be a heartwarming podium for Rick Kelly, 3rd position in the Nissan Altima. SVG, final few corners, final outing with the Techno Autosports team. Whincup pushing the entire way, pushing his new teammate to the line. This will be the 11th career win for Shane Van Gisbergen, the 9th that he's taken with the Techno Autosport team. He does it at Sydney Olympic Park and says thank you to the Techno team. What a way to close the chapter. Whincup second.
Thank you guys, that was awesome.
Get set for a burnout and a half here. He is about to, no doubt.
No burnouts, no burnouts.
Ooh, none, not today.
Thanks guys.
And Rick Kelly gets home in 3rd place. We'll celebrate Frosty's title. A bit of drifting instead for you to enjoy at home in the Darrell Lee Commodore. Congrats to Rico, 4th podium of the year. Most he's had since 2011, as we said. And 11 of the last 12 races of the season have been won by Holden. Great variety this year, as Neil detailed before. A season that began with some dominance from those ProDrive Fords. 9 wins, the most of the year going to Mark Winterbottom. Whincup getting very close. And it sets the scene, doesn't it, for a brilliant year in 2016. Really looking forward to the movement that we're about to see in driver terms and what they'll be able to do in their new homes.
Alicia, so should be pretty proud of Rick, because that's an excellent performance. And what's Frosty up to down here? He was 3rd back in the day, back in 2010, so he's just going to put a little signature on the end of this championship. Give the Ford fans something to cheer about. All the pressure's off. The job is done. It was done yesterday. He's finished 4th today. It's a great story for that group. Cleaning up in the development series, cleaning up in the main game. Didn't quite get the job done with the team's championship, but proud results all round. And great way for Shane Van Gisbergen, that's his dad Robert, to finish his tenure at Techno with Steve Hallam and Jeff Slater, Steve Webb and Jonathan Webb. They did a very, very good job in the Pertec Enduro Cup. And this guy been really impressive at this racetrack all weekend, and Greg Murphy dared him to win the race today, and he went out and did exactly that. He came to the event this weekend with 7 podiums here, 2 wins and a pole back in 2013. He's a street fighter, this guy. He got into a stoush with James Courtney down at turn 9. And after that, he just controlled the pace.
He came out on top of it, didn't he? 11 career race wins now, and 9 of them have come with this team. This will mean a lot
great stint, 3 wonderful years with the Techno Autosport team. There's Jonathan, who did a brilliant job in the Enduros with him. He's off to Red Bull Racing next year. And that's where he'll join Jamie Whincup. Frosty still celebrating. Lots of hometown support for the boy who grew up in Western Sydney. Put it beyond doubt yesterday. Leaves his mark on his hometown and on the 2015 championship.
Shane Van Gisbergen, he's actually just checking out Mark Winterbottom's skids and giving them an evaluation. What a way to end your season. What a way to send off your time with Techno Autosports. Congratulations, victory here at the Coatside Sydney 500.
He needs to go up the gears. It sounds like he's in first gear, but great job to them and their team. They've done great all year, but thanks to my team here, it's been an awesome way to finish. Great weekend and been a really awesome 3 years. And it's a shame with James at the start there, but I had a run and he moved under brakes and I just couldn't pull it up when he changed. But awesome, great race, thank you.
Enjoy that podium. We look forward to seeing you in new colours in 2016. Jamie Whincup, the man, he'll be joining next year. You've had a sensational weekend, 2 victories, another podium. Congratulations.
Yeah, of course. Happy. Made an error in that race, though, which probably cost us the lead. We had a couple of seconds more fuel there. But anyway, that's all good. I think I got a P5 in the championship, which is not bad either, and obviously the team's championship. So good year. We're pretty. I'm ready for a break, to be sure. That's for sure.
You've been in anonymous form the last part of the season. Big things to come in 2016. Enjoy that podium. Enjoy the break. We'll see you next year, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks. Well done to Gizzy. Did a top job, and big thanks to all my team. Thanks.
Enjoy the champagne. And finally, third on the podium, Rick Kelly. Awesome way to send off Jack Daniels, who've had a fantastic relationship. Congratulations.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's a good way to thank JD for a fantastic 10 years in the sport and 7 years with our team. They've really allowed us to have a V8 supercar team with Nissan and Forge Forward. So thanks very much for everyone at JD.
Enjoy the break. We'll see you in 2016.
Thank you.
And we're waiting for the presentation now. A very, very special one to the driver of Car 5. Excellent stuff by Van Gisbergen and Whincup today. And here it is. Exhausted at the end of 74 laps, but elated because the title is his in 2015. We said it yesterday, he is a very worthy champion. It's a championship that takes more than just one man. Look at them, they've got the shirts on. Fans, family, friends, and the 60-odd staff at ProDrive Racing Australia who have made a significant contribution to the title. Proudly wearing one is Tim Edwards. Awesome moment in Mark Winterbottom's career. Wife Renee there in the middle. Austin and Oliver, his sons. There you go. Well done, Dad. And of course, that confidence, he rode on that confidence today, didn't he? He didn't score a race win. He's missed out on the podium, only just. But it was a very good performance.
Mark Winterbottom, it's official. You are the 2015 V8 Supercars champion. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just awesome to put the number 1 on the car, and I just got to thank everyone who supported us, all the sponsors. They've been amazing. All the partners at home, to all the guys and girls at work who really let their husbands and wife come to work. Thank you to them. And awesome. Dooney Boy, I'm in my background and backyard here, and yeah, it's awesome. So just good to get it done.
Frosty, it's been over 10 years in the making in V8 Supercars. You've had a night to sort of let it soak in. What does it feel like right now that you can finally say you're the champion?
Oh, it's awesome. It's complete. We pack up, we go home, we celebrate and enjoy it. So no, it's just awesome. And for Cam as well to win the DVS. Everyone in the workshop's put in a massive effort. So I'm over the moon. I'm going to hit the party tonight and tomorrow night and the next night, and just celebrate this because it's awesome.
We'll see you in 2016 with number 1 on the door. Well done.
I'll be back. Thank you.
I think he's got a little operation over summer too to take some of the metalwork out after that injured foot from the water skiing accident a few years back.
Wednesday this week.
There you go. So he'll get plenty of time to enjoy the moment, enjoy the celebrations. Great to have him as the champion. He'll do a good job with that number one as well. Shane van Gisbergen claims the final race of the season. Gritty drive by the Kiwi. Good fight by his 2016 teammate, Jamie Whincup. Nice way to wrap up the association with Jack Daniels. Rick Kelly on the podium as well. Tander and Courtney, they finished just outside the top 10. McLaughlin with those dramas. He was on for a top 6 finish in the Volvo. And Jack Perkins, 21st. Time for the podium. Here's Chad Nailon.
It's time for the race 36 podium here at the Coates Hire Sydney 500. In first place for Team Darrell Lee Sticks, Shane van Gisbergen. In second place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup. And in third for Jack Daniels Racing, Rick Kelly. Representing the Castrol Edge winning team is Mick Shortis from Team Darrell Lee Sticks. With the third place trophy, it's Matt Jones, the Chief Financial Officer of OVO Mobile. With the second place trophy, it's Michael Edmonds, General Manager Marketing of Asahi Premium Beverages. With the Castrol Edge winning team trophy is Jeremy Hill, Group Marketing Manager of Coates Hire. And with our winner's trophy, Jeff Fraser, Chief Financial Officer of our naming rights sponsor, Coates Hire. And now, introducing the 2015 V8 Supercars champion for Pepsi Max Crew, Mark Winterbottom. And with the trophy, Stuart Ayres, Minister for Sport, Trade, Tourism and Major Events. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 V8 Supercars Coates Hire Sydney 500 Race 36 podium.
Frosty, they're screaming Frosty. Champion, awesome stuff. It's been a brutal but a very good weekend here, Neil Compton, hasn't it?
It has been a great weekend to celebrate a special victory for Mark Winterbottom and his team. Pleasing to see people fulfil their dreams, and that's what he did. Great catch. And we hope you've enjoyed the 2015 V8 Supercars Championship with us. 36 races. Massive number of kilometres, and when you look back at it over the course of the year, enormous number of storylines, matchups, brawls, tears, smiles, politics, all the usual high drama that we see in V8 supercar racing, and some tremendous motorsport from world's best operators.
We really hope you've enjoyed it, and we can't wait for the opening round of the 2016 season on the streets of Adelaide.